All right, hey, it's Alex back with another episode of the HYPEWORKS podcast. This is episode number 20. I'm actually going to be flying solo today. Jake is not with me, but I've got Alfie. He's a guest today. So, Alfie, good to have you on. We just literally talked like a minute ago, and we're fairly new to each other. So, I think this is quite cool. Format though, like when you don't know someone, it's like you're getting to know them, and your kind of audience is getting to know them at the same time. So yeah, maybe just like introduce yourself to our audience and give yourself a little background. That'd be great.
Sure. No, thank you for having me, Alex. I feel hyped right now. I'm ready to work. It's a cool brand name, by the way. So yes, my name's Alfie Whattam. I am an entrepreneur, a podcast host, an author, a speaker. I guess my area of expertise would be around kind of technology and the future and digital trends and that sort of thing. I own and operate a technology recruiting staffing company where we power businesses with the best UK software engineers across the market and allow them to scale and grow and achieve success in all different areas, whether that's artificial intelligence to the metaverse to blockchain to fintech and edtech and saving the world and beyond. So I guess my businesses and platforms are all kind of based around that premise. And then outside of work, I have a wife, I have a tiny baby, I have a dog.
Oh,
I'm based in
congrats.
London. Yeah, man, and that's me.
You're busy man. I think this is really cool actually because you're the first guest we've had that is kind of focused on people and recruitment and HR, and like we'll get into that in a bit. But this is really cool because most of our guests are like typically on the marketing side, like because we're me, myself, and Jake, like we talk about marketing 24/7. We work in marketing, so it's really good to kind of get into people. And did you study like psychology at school? Because I know a lot of people like they do psychology, and then that leads to like
Yeah.
people related work.
I did it at A level, but the type of stuff that you are taught, in my opinion, in the like education system is for the most part almost outdated the minute that you've
Yeah.
graduated. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't put too much of the results down to that. Unfortunately, I think on the people side, it is. I had a very different career before I did my tech business. In that, most people don't know this. You have to kind of dig around a little bit online to find out. But I was
Yeah, I
a
read about this.
professional magician. Yes, yeah. So I performed magic on TV shows like Britain's Got Talent and had my own television show and traveled the world performing at parties and events for anyone
just to
from.
back up there, so you literally went out on stage in front of like Simon Cowell and like all these guys.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
oh
I
my
did that
god,
for. I think I was 15 when I did that one on
is that
Britain's Got
online?
Talent.
Is there a clip of it online? I
You
haven't
can
searched for
find
it.
it. Yeah. There's
I might need to overlay this on the video.
go for it, man. Add some B-roll. Go for it.
What was that like?
It was nerve-wracking, scary, but in a way really exciting and interesting. I think I've got to this came to this realization. I tweeted this out the other day, Alex, or I X'd it out rather, as it's called now, where if I'm not doing something which is like incredibly challenging or stressful, then I find myself in like a crippling state of
Yeah.
boredom. Like I can't sit around anymore and just watch TV shows or a movie. I'm grabbing the phone. I'm trying to go on Notion and
Funny
look
you
at business
mentioned that.
ideas.
I took a little break from work this afternoon, and I was listening to Walter Isaacson, the guy that's
On Lex.
biography Jobs, and yeah, Lex said that one,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he literally said the same thing about Musk. He said like the guy can't sit still. He can't do nothing. He has to be doing something. I think that's a quite a good personality trait.
Yeah, I don't know if I could compare myself in any way, shape, or form to Musk, but hopefully one day. Yeah, I think if you look at any person which is doing well in their domain, whatever that is, I think one common habit and trend will be an urgency to get shit done. Can I swear on your podcast?
Yeah, man,
Well, I already have. So
we drop f bombs like every week.
I think if
Um,
you have somebody that's delaying stuff and delaying it,
yeah,
Alex,
yeah.
like that's a good indication that something's not going to be, work
So
out
so
for them.
the magician stuff, like that was like from your personality, like you just wanted to keep busy. You want to did you want to like I guess you were extroverted in some way, like to perform in front of people. Was that kind of like a personality trait, or did you have to kind of force it?
I think I think I've always been naturally good at just getting on stage and speaking to people. Even if I may not be the best at it,
Man,
I've never
that's
had
rare.
the,
That's
the
most
the
people hate
fear.
it, right?
It's like
Yeah.
the number one fear. If you ask people what they're most scared of in life, I think public speaking is above death. Like people are literally more
Yeah.
scared of standing and speaking than they are scared of dying. Whereas with me, for whatever reason, it's one of my favorite things to do. So
Damn.
maybe born
Lucky
that way. I
you.
don't
I
know.
think everyone's shit scared of speaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of
Everyone's
people
just
are. But the magic stuff, man, it was like it was a hobby which spiraled out of control. I got into it really young as a kid, and I think most kids they get like a magic set for Christmas or whatever, and I just like started to get better and better and better at it, and then I was booking, a party and then an event and then a wedding, and it was getting bigger and bigger each time to the point where I started to do stuff on
Mhm.
TV, and it would have been fun to perhaps do it as a career, but I mean, it's not like being a famous musician where you can
Yeah.
make millions of pounds. Like I can probably count on one or two hands how many
Yeah.
musicians are out there that
I
make a
was
lot of
thinking
money.
about that. Yeah. David Blaine.
Yeah, he's
Like
Blaine's up
so much
there,
shit. Yeah.
Copperfield, Penn and
Yeah.
Teller, Dynamo, and that's basically it. And then like
Mhm.
everybody else is like not making a lot of cash. So it was a very fun thing to do, but in order to have a be a provider for wife, kids, have a
Mhm.
great life, build something. It's a little bit hard to do that in that lane,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and
So
I'm
I kind of
guessing that's like pre TikTok era, pre IG. Like, there's a lot of guys blowing up doing this stuff now.
yeah.
It's, I guess, different era then because you couldn't really monetize anything, right? It was like difficult unless you.
No, 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 no. So when I've been posting on YouTube for probably over 10 years. Like some of my early videos is like back when like the AdSense, like the partner
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
was
yeah.
paying you out like almost nothing compared to what it pays people today. So
Yeah.
different time, man. It's I feel like in 2023 you can almost take any skill, monetize it, and
Yeah,
make a lot of money from it. A little bit different 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
hundred
but
percent.
yeah.
And so basically, did you went to uni? I guess. Where did you go to uni?
I briefly went to London School of Economics through the UOLIP. So I was studying, I was traveling, didn't finish. I think I came to a point, basically, Alex, where I was being taught this business and economics and
Yeah,
management
I
information.
did
And
management as well, business. It was a
yeah,
four-year party, man. Like, honestly,
yeah, that's
it
exactly what
wasn't
I was
very
going to say.
productive.
The stuff that you're taught on how to run a business is being taught by people who have never run a company before.
Correct, correct. Yeah,
And I was making more money on the weekend than perhaps they were making, and I didn't know what they supposedly knew as professors, right? So I very quickly kind of wanted to give entrepreneurship more of a try than like
yeah.
the traditional corporate route.
So you didn't jump into corporate at that time. You actually kind of
So
started doing your own stuff.
no, well, I kind of was an entrepreneur like as a kid, really, with the magic, because that's me running my own company, being paid to perform at events and conferences and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then I went into more traditional corporate life. I spent 5 years working for a massive recruitment company, a business called Hayes. When I started, I
Oh
was a
yeah, Hayes.
trainee.
Yeah, I've actually worked with Hayes in my corporate career as well. I was trying to fill some positions with Hayes. So yeah, no, that's a good company though, Hayes though, right? Like I hear a lot of
Oh,
positive
it's an
things. Like
excellent company. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I spent 5 years there. Started as a trainee, didn't really know anything about recruitment. Owe a lot to them because they trained me how to do it and they showed me the ropes. And
how did you pick recruitment though? Was it just like the job presented itself, or were you just like kind of thinking, oh, this could be a good career, like people
so when I was
management and
doing, yeah, I was
sourcing?
doing the magic. and I was getting multiple requests to do shows in different areas at the same time. So I'd be in London doing a show and I'd get a request to do one in China or do one in New York or do one in Australia. And I couldn't physically be in these places at the same
Yeah.
time. So I'd hire other magician friends of mine to do the gig. I would then take a cut of that. And then by accident, I built up a magic recruitment agency essentially
Really,
um,
that's very
off
interesting.
my brand.
That's a
So
great
the
niche, actually.
it
Having
seems
the
like a great
resumes of all
niche.
these magicians must have been a good business, actually.
Well, it seems like a great niche, but when you really look at the logistics of the business, a magician is working on a Friday night for an hour and a Saturday night for two
Yeah,
hours. So it's not as cash flow recurring as it may seem. So when I switched to I guess doing more technology recruitment, that's a little bit
yeah.
more profitable because somebody can work 50 hours a week rather than 3 hours a week, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, especially as the tech economy is getting so big, like it's, you know, all the biggest, most profitable companies now are tech companies, right? So you
Yeah,
kind of were in the right place at the right time. Myself and Jake, like we worked in tech industry for 5, 6 years as well. So it's like, I feel like our generation, like that was like the most obvious kind of sector to go into. You know,
yeah.
Especially after
You,
all the shit went down with the financial crisis. And I worked in oil briefly for 1 year, but of course the oil industry completely crashed. So tech was booming. Like 2015, like 2016 is when I entered tech, and
yeah.
until today basically. So I think you're kind of riding a wave as well, the same as us in that field.
I think it's important like to do things which have the wind at your back. Like if you could be
100%.
the hardest working person in the world, but if you're trying to build like I don't know, like a newspaper or like
Yeah,
some physical shop which sells shoes or something. I mean,
yeah,
like you're in the wrong game. Like pick a winning race. I mean, like you can be the best
100%.
driver in the world, but if you're in the wrong car, then and it's broken down and it's it needs an oil change. Getting like an electric sports car or something that's clearly the future.
Yeah. And so like were you working across like all different tech fields, or was there like a specific one that you kind of focused on at
I
Hayes?
have and always recruited software engineers. It's kind of been my bread and butter, and helping companies, I suppose, just grow and scale quickly. And if they secure funding, for example, and they need to, go from a small team to a proper business, I'll advise them and help them do that, and then get them the right people that they need to kind of go on that journey, really. And was doing that as a trainee for Hayes for 5 years, and then after a couple of years, I started getting more involved into management and leadership, and then
Yeah,
started to build
Hayes
teams.
kind of fast track people. I know that. The girl I work with, she
Yeah,
was telling me like they're really good at that. Like, what do they call that? Like, there's like a corporate term for that, like career development or something.
yeah,
Like, so yeah,
career development, professional development, whatever the
yeah,
terms,
yeah, yeah,
but they do fast track people quick if they hit their targets and if they put their hand up for a bigger and more
yeah,
exciting challenge. I think when I finished there, I was managing 56 people or something across a business which was doing millions of pounds every single year. We had people in
yeah,
London, we had people in, I think the biggest team I had was in London, but we had people all across the UK, people in
yeah.
Ireland, people in India. And I was, a 20, I think it was 25 or 26 when I finished that role. So it's not common for people that young to manage teams that big, but companies like Hayes are good at that sort of thing, and I'll give them credit for, giving people the challenge if they're willing to do it.
Yeah, no, the girl I work with, she was doing we worked in the South China. I'm not sure you know about the Shenzhen like consumer electronics industry, and that was
Yeah,
really booming. And then that girl got promoted to like head of Southeast Asia. She got moved to Singapore. So
oh
I was like,
nice.
wow, that's pretty cool actually. That company, they did a great job. So yeah, you're managing like all these people. And you're probably getting a decent salary. So like, why did you leave there? Why did you want to start your own business?
I think I really missed the entrepreneurial side. Even though what I was doing prior was pretty small scale, I just liked the idea
Yeah,
of being in charge of the vision, the strategy, not having to report to 50 people.
Yeah.
So the itch, the urge kind of was there for many years. It was something that I wanted to do for a while. COVID happened, not a great time to start a recruitment company during COVID. So I kind of
Yeah.
waited for COVID to be over and then launched just over a year ago now.
Yeah. So if we look at Alpha like from the very beginning, like recruitment is like a super competitive industry, right? You've got like we actually work with a freelancer like on our side. So when
Yeah,
we're working with people in our company, we try and work with a freelancer, and that's like there must be millions of these people around the world. And then you've got like small little recruitment companies. There's a lot here in Hong Kong that um, like send me a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, like trying to
yeah.
hire you. And then you've got the Haze, and you've got like I think it must be one of the most competitive industries in the world, across so many verticals. So like where do you start with recruitment, like, or in people, like how do you um, define yourself like in that environment?
I think the best recruiters really, really focus on their network.
Yeah,
It's what I call an inch wide, mile deep approach. If you try and be a generalist and try and recruit for everything, like I can recruit developers and I can recruit an accountant or a lawyer for you, then you'll do everything poorly. Like it won't be very good to the service, the quality of the candidates. They'll be the first people that apply to jobs on the job ads when you put something up. I think the best recruiters, they do a very particular area and they do it really, really well. So if you say that you need to hire somebody with skills X, Y, and Z, paying between this much money and this much money in this location, this type of personality, they've worked in this type of industries. If you're a specialist, immediately I've got 5 people coming to mind, which could be a good fit
yeah,
for it. So, and it might seem like that's 5 minutes of work, Alex, but really it's 5 years of work because I've had to build that network in order to amass those connections and get to that point. So I think regardless of what type of agency you're working at, whether that's somebody in their spare bedroom or whether that's a huge business like Hayes, the company matters a lot less than the recruiter and how
mhm,
deep their network is, because ultimately that's what a company's paying for when they're looking to hire somebody. They just want the best
yeah,
person regardless of where they're coming from.
yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think every business, like we started marketing and tech marketing, so like we use our network for that. Um, it's obvious, right? You gotta leverage your network. Um, but that aside, the go-to-market kind of strategy, um, there's so many ways you could approach this. And I see it in the recruitment marketplace. Like some people invest a lot in like a fancy website. A lot of people like pump LinkedIn. A lot of people like have a lot of offline stuff. How did you like find the right go to market like channel to like find customers for your business?
I always see marketing as you really need to be like an octopus. So you need to be tentacles everywhere, man. So,
Yeah,
if we talk about sales and marketing for a little bit, if I'm trying to build a list of clients who want to work with me, I guess I would have, a very simple value proposition. In exchange, it costs this much money. Here's what you get. Here's how we do it. Have that all laid out nice and clear on like a website, which I have done, and then build out a list of, I guess, what you'd call your avatars or people that you'd ideally like to do business with. In my case, for the recruitment business, that's founders, CTOs, and heads of software engineering that have teams already of developers, ideally like between like 5 to 100 plus people
yeah,
that are working for them. And then I would use like a customer relationship management piece of software to be able to track all those, between cold contacts, warm ones, and hot ones. This is basic sales stuff, but it's stuff that often gets overlooked. And then I'd just be doing the octopus strategy in terms of being everywhere. So maybe your one tentacle is your liking and engaging with their LinkedIn content. Another tentacle is the same method on Twitter. Another tentacle is they're on your newsletter and they're getting an email once a month from you.
yeah.
Another tentacle
Email
would
must
be
be really
phone.
big for recruitment, like because literally that's how people are passing around their CVs, right?
Oh,
It
I
must
send
be
I
a
send
really
thousands of
important.
emails a day, but
Yeah,
I send 3 emails a day, but they go to thousands of people because we use automation tools
yeah.
and lists. So yeah, I mean, email. I don't think email would replace. If I had a choice between social media and email, I'm still picking email because email
Yeah, yeah.
is what people will make a purchasing decision on. Very very rarely. Will they make a decision purely just based on a LinkedIn message? You kind of
Mhm.
need to hit them from multiple angles, if that makes sense.
There's a lot of nuance as well. Like when you think about like e-com or some kind of product business, like social makes sense because people can just click through or tap and buy. But when
Yeah,
you're in a business of people, there's so much nuance, right? Like screening people, files, there's just a lot more kind of bits and pieces to kind of connect the funnel, right? So I guess
yeah,
email is like the perfect channel, and I think um, a lot of people kind of they get kind of upset about the ATR, the no, not ATR, the applicant tracking software, like the
ATS. Yeah.
ATS or ATS. Um, what's your take on that? Like, because that was supposed to like automate a lot of the process, right? I'm not sure you guys use that in your business, but like I used to get frustrated as hell, like trying to do
Yeah.
the ATS stuff. I remember I tried to apply for a job at HSBC, and
Mm,
I spent like half an hour in this thing. And I just gave up.
yeah.
Um, what's your take on that?
I think 99% of ATS systems being used by companies, they have no idea what they're doing because you'll upload a CV and then you've got to retype all of your information out again.
Yeah,
Like, hey, what score did you? It's on the
disaster. Right?
CV. Like,
Frustrating as
why am I
hell.
typing this? So my advice to companies would be either don't even use one, just put an email address and get people to email you their CV,
Yeah,
or do it through something like LinkedIn Jobs or something like that, which has a pre-built one, which is simple, it's easy to use. Try and
LinkedIn
make
jobs is
your
nice actually. That like one click. It's like the Amazon one click thing, right? You
exactly,
see, you see a
exactly. That's
job,
why
you like
LinkedIn are
it, you
massive.
click it.
Yeah,
Yeah. But then
yeah.
I suppose they probably do get a lot of rubbish as well.
You do,
Um,
but you can turn on screening questions, Alex, and it's something that I recommend people do. If you post a job on LinkedIn, then after people have applied with their CV, they can get a predetermined question which you have written, which could be something like, do you have 2 years
yeah,
experience with this technology? If they click no, then their CV won't be sent to you. The
yeah,
filter will stop it. So a simple ATS works much better, and setting up screening questions is like the holy grail to save yourself a lot of time, you know.
cool. And I don't want you to give away your like secret sauce of your internal procedures processes, but like so that's the ATS stuff and LinkedIn. That's all external, and you might one of your clients might give you a mailbox, right, and you get the applications.
Mm.
Um, when you were designing your business, like how did you think about process? Because we think about process a lot in our business. Like, there's always ways you can improve it, make it slicker. Have you got some kind of like magic box for recruitment, or is it not that kind
I
of?
think it's not as magical as one might think. To be honest, it's recruitment is about gathering candidates through two main ways. Really, you have kind of candidates who are proactive. They're looking for a job. They're proactively applying. So you write an advert for a position that then goes through an aggregator. So that gets posted onto all the different potential job ad platforms. So you write it once, it goes up on all of them. Those applications then once again get aggregated back to your database of people who are then on
Yeah,
your database. You own that data, you can store it, you've got their CV. That's how you get people, I guess, that are looking for job proactive, who are, proactively searching. Then you have more reactive, passive talent who are not necessarily looking for a job, but if you called them about something amazing, they might be open to it. And if you've got somebody on your database from 6 months ago that applied, they might have found something, but they might not be happy in that new job. So it's a case of reaching out to them, cold calling them, and trying to sell them on an opportunity, whether that's on the phone, whether that's on LinkedIn messages, like finding people's profiles and messaging them, or Twitter DMs, or events, or conferences, or meetups. So you really need to do both to get the right people. But I definitely would say the best people are more passive because they're
Yeah,
already really good at what they're doing. Like they're in demand. Like why would they be looking for a job if they were like really really good at it? If that makes sense.
100%. Yeah, no, it does make total sense. So here's a question for you. If you had to pick one, would you call yourself a recruitment company or a technology company?
I'd say we are a tech community which makes all of its money through recruiting people. So I guess
Ah,
on the company's house official form, we're a recruitment
yeah,
agency, a
yeah,
specialist
yeah, yeah,
recruitment company. But we all of our client attraction, the vast majority of our candidate attraction, for the most part nowadays, comes through the media properties that we do. Whether that's the hundreds of
yeah,
podcasts that we filmed in our studio, whether that's our monthly newsletter magazine that we produce,
yeah.
and whether that's the events that we run and so on and so forth. So I think it's really hard in 2023 to exist and not have a big part of your
100%.
business as a digital media company. So we
Right.
are just by the nature of the times that we live in, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at all the kind of the case studies of like successful companies in like our era, especially with like things like Web3 and AI and all this kind of new technology, it's all community driven, right? Like
Yeah,
I play around with Mid Journey, you know, like the AI design tool, and like
yeah,
it's unbelievable. Like it's a whole company that's just built on a community of people. Like there's like I think there's like 6 or 7 like core staff. That's it, and there's literally like millions
So
of
they got
people.
11 people, as far as I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then I'm sure the number will be different now. But last time I heard it was 11. And then yeah, like the way that they've set it up, you're absolutely right, Alex. It's like a Discord like UI,
yeah,
so that community is like integral to what they do because when other people post the prompts you can see what keywords
yeah,
they're using, so you can steal their ideas and put that into your own scripting when you're writing your own prompts, which
yeah,
is why it's there's no tutorial needed. The community is
yeah.
the tutorial. That's why they've blown
Yeah,
up.
the other one I was thinking about. I was hiking at the weekend, and there was a girl, and she loves Notion, and like that
Yeah,
was another product. Like it's just driven by the users, right? Like they're literally posting their Notion docs and then sharing all that kind of goodwill with like even non-users. Like it's kind of wild. Does that kind of play into your thinking with Alpha? Like, are you trying to build like systems to sort of take advantage of that, or yeah, what's I guess how what's the best way so far you found to harness the community? Like, is it a particular channel, or is it like, you know, is there anything noteworthy?
I think that it's even simpler than that because of Alpha being more of a service company rather than a product company. With something like
Yeah,
Notion, which is fantastic, which I use every single day, it's a software product. Whereas with so it can do those like examples that you mentioned there around here's my Notion templates, etc., etc.
yeah,
Download them. With we also use our community to get new candidates, new clients, but we just do it through referrals, really. So
hmm,
if somebody is able to recommend a candidate that we can then place into a company, we'll
yeah,
happily give them £1,000 as a referral
hmm,
bonus. Same thing with companies if they can refer us to other businesses looking to hire. I would say that more than 50% of our business probably comes through referrals and recommendations at this point. So, you're absolutely right. That community part is so important. We do it a little bit different, like as a service company, in terms of how we use that to scale. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's equally just as important, regardless of like what you're trying to sell, right? Like you need the community.
yeah. And if there was, we often ask guests like if you had to pick one channel, like one social media channel, you could only use one. Like which one would
Yeah.
you use?
If you had to limit it to social media, I'd probably say
Yeah,
LinkedIn because
yeah,
with LinkedIn, it's got the jobs, which is you can't have a recruitment business in
yeah.
2023 without a LinkedIn page. It's
True.
not really possible.
Okay,
I mean,
say LinkedIn's allowed. You could have two. LinkedIn is one.
it's got to be X, man. I've
Yeah,
X has been the app which I've checked every morning, first thing that I woke up, and probably the last thing I've gone to bed.
yeah. X is also. I think the cool thing with X is like, um, it's just the pure reach of it. Like you can literally just target anyone. Like I think Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, they tend to be quite cliquey. Like everyone's like in groups, right? Facebook, everyone's in a group. LinkedIn, everyone's in some kind of group or circle. I think Twitter's the only, or X, the only one where you can actually just like send out a message. It could go viral, and then you've got that huge reach. And I think the good thing with X is you probably say the same. Like you can make friends, like real friends on it. I don't think the other ones, it's all very sort of fake, right? LinkedIn is quite kind of fake in
Oh
that
yeah.
people are kind of grandstanding, and IG's very about showing off your lifestyle, wherever. On Facebook, no one really uses it. Maybe there's an argument for TikTok, especially among Gen Z. Like, you can kind of build a following very quickly, and a lot of people kind of say like, oh, I can learn a lot on TikTok and whatnot. But yeah, I think X is a good one for growing a business. Like trying to increase your reach. Have you, in terms of like the recruitment side, like have you like sourced candidates like quite frequently using X, or
Yeah,
is
I
it
mean,
more on the
like,
marketing side?
I'd say LinkedIn is probably 100 times more powerful for that, just because of the amount of filters that you can apply. You can select
Yeah.
what industry they're working, how long they've worked there, who else you know
The
that
reason,
they
the
know.
reason I asked that is because you might have seen the new what's it called, job cards on
Yeah,
X.
I've seen them.
They're trying to,
It's okay. It's a step in the direction, but I mean, they are nowhere near the power of LinkedIn from that perspective.
yeah.
It's got a
Do you
very
think
different use case for me.
they could get there? Like, because their user base is probably on par with LinkedIn, I guess, overall. Could that be like a potential platform?
I think if if Elon wants to do something, he is the kind of guy who can make it happen. Whether
Yeah.
that's putting man on Mars or doing probably more for climate change than any individual in history through Tesla and the EV movement.
Yeah.
Um, whatever he sets his mind to, he seems to eventually, in the long term, do it. I think he's had Twitter now for what, a year, and his critics are looking at him going, "Oh, he hasn't yet, completely transformed it into the everything app. He's failed." But I mean, these things take time. It took him years and years and years to
Yeah.
build his other companies. I mean, give the guy a chance to turn it around. But
I
already,
think the
you
only
know,
there's a flaw though. Like LinkedIn is real identities, right? On the most
yeah.
part, it's real. The
Mm.
problem with X is there's so much fake identities, like it's not real identities. So
Well, they're
how do
trying to
you
fix that. The
trying to?
verification tick,
Yeah.
you know, it's not
But
perfect.
if you're a company, you're trying to hire people on X, and you have this job card, and you could get like so much, you know, random people,
Yeah.
fake bots like applying to you. I think they've got a. I think it's a work in progress, right? It looks kind of half baked from what I've seen.
Yeah, I've
But
only
anyway,
seen it a little bit, Alex, but it's obviously like I said, it's nowhere near the power of LinkedIn yet. If you were a company, I wouldn't recommend spending much money on that yet. It's very
yeah,
surface level. You kind of need for the same amount of money on LinkedIn, you'll get a lot more right now.
yeah. So what's your like overall ambition with the business? Like, can you imagine like selling it one day, or like what's the goal?
I think a lot of what I do is very separate but vertically integrated. That they help each other out. Podcast helps out the recruitment company because I have guests on the podcast who are clients and potential clients, and that bleeds over into business. When I'm doing speaking or writing or whatever, once again they're all integrated. People on the podcast could then be featured in a bit of book or a newsletter or whatever, or invite me to do a talk. So even though they are separate, they do complement each other quite nicely. So it would be hard for me to sell the recruitment business with the other stuff combined, because
Yeah,
when you have a podcast, it's your face. What happens then?
yeah.
Do you work for them but you're still delivering it? So I think if
It's
i if
very
i was to
personal,
sell,
super
yeah,
personal.
very very
Yeah,
personal, and it would mean that I'd need to just sell the recruitment part, which is absolutely doable and fine, and then the podcast, everything else can continue on its own. Um, but it's not something that I've really thought about anytime soon. I'm keen to keep building it, and then who knows, one day, never say never.
Yeah.
But for
You
now,
hear
I'm
you hear
happily
these
gonna.
stories like people sell businesses and then they buy back another one, like, or they start another one in the same industry, right? And then I remember the Disney guy, like, he quit. He's like, I'm done, and then like he came back like a year later. Like, I think once you have like a passion or like a real interest, um, like, why you're not going to stop doing it, right? You're just going to keep doing it. Otherwise, you're not going to have a fun life. You're not going to enjoy yourself. You know,
Yeah.
there's only so long you can spend at the beach. Um, you know, it's just, I think people that start businesses have this kind of perspective, right? Like,
Disney's a perfect example
yeah,
because Bob Iger, who the person that is you talking about, he finished Disney and then he wrote a book talking about his life and his experience and everything. And he's still, I mean, he's an old guy, but he's not old. He's not, he's not
yeah,
dropping,
yeah.
anytime soon. So I
No,
remember when he
there's no,
published the book,
yeah,
I remember thinking this guy's gonna be so bored. Like he's got another,
yeah,
10, 20 years and he's gonna be doing what?
yeah,
So the fact that he came back really, really, I could have predicted that. Like he was going to be
yeah,
doing something else. You can't just retire if you ran Disney. I mean, come on,
yeah.
you got to be a hungry person to
Could
run
you
Disney.
could you see yourself like appointing like I was watching a video about there's this company Represent clothing. They're like a fashion brand in Bolton, I think, and the guy said that um he got a professional CEO in to run things, and he said like since then it's become even better for him because he can focus on like things he really likes to do, like not
Yeah,
not some of the boring stuff. Could you imagine doing that or
maybe,
no?
but I think professional CEOs are a little bit risky. It's like these business gurus who try and tell you how to run a business and
Yeah,
they've never actually had a business themselves. I think you just would need to be very, very careful when doing your kind of vetting. And I think for a CEO, it's much better to promote from within because you have somebody who
yeah,
understands the company, the culture, the team, the vision, the road map and the challenges, whereas getting somebody from outside, it can be really risky. There was a good book on this, Good to Great, by I think it was Jim Collins or Jim Rohn?
Collins, yeah, yeah.
Jim Collins,
I
yeah.
think I started reading that and then I stopped for whatever reason.
It's a big book.
Yeah,
One of
yeah,
the chapters was about external CEOs. At least I think it was Good to Great that talks about this from memory. And I think for the most part, like internal promotions worked much better when you
yeah,
looked at it in terms of the data behind it.
yeah. I mean, you look at Apple are going to launch this new iPhone tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like I was on the Apple website today just randomly, and I was looking at the executive leadership, and they've all, of course, they've been at other companies, but they've all been at Apple since the 1990s. Like they've been there forever, and I think that stability is often overlooked in a company, right? Like having a team of people that you know have been there a long time, and they're internally promoted, from different levels in the company. It kind of leads to like a really strong organization, right?
yeah. I mean,
Especially when you
when
compare it to
Tim?
like these companies that switch out the leadership every year.
Of course. I mean, before Tim was chief exec, he was COO for many, many years, and he
Yeah,
had other
yeah,
roles
yeah.
beforehand. I can't remember if it was when he became COO or became CEO, but the story from what I've been told was he was in a helicopter with Jobs, and Jobs turned and looked at him and said, I'm making you COO or I'm making you CEO, whatever the promotion was. It wasn't even a conversation about do you want to have this job. He'd been at the company long enough where
Yeah,
he knew all of the IP, he knew what needed to be done. So it was just a natural evolution. Like this is what you're going to be doing next, and he was like,
yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah. But then on the other hand, I'm thinking, yes, it's good to have people that stay at the company and internally promote, but then you do need fresh blood as well. I'm sure you've got that in your business, like having like interns join or having like outsiders join does bring in like fresh ideas and perspective. So I
I
think
mean,
probably a balance,
yes,
right?
so often, man, like you could be super experienced at a particular thing, but you're looking at the problem from the wrong angle, and you could be
Yeah,
obsessing over it time and time again. Whereas if you just get like a complete outsider to go, hey, what do you think? Like a lot of the time, they'll give you a really naive
even
answer.
interns,
Yeah,
interns are
even intern,
especially
but
good.
But even though it's a basic answer, it's oftentimes the right answer because they're not looking at it through the lens of all the experience that you've been given. So it's all earned and built up yourself, right? So you might not. It might seem like a basic answer. It might seem really simple, but oftentimes that simple is the best, and they've got no bias behind their opinion.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, it's really good that you've got a really good business and you're kind of happy, and that it's such a nice position to be in. You're not kind of. I don't know about your investor side, or if it's fully kind of, you own the business and it's self funding. But it's great to be in a place where you're not in any rush. You can just like build your business, and you know, there's no need to kind of make any decisions. So you can kind of just see where it goes.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, to answer that point, I fully bootstrapped it. So I was lucky enough to save some money from my corporate life, and then put some of that into starting it.
Yeah,
But it's didn't really start it with much money at all. You only need a couple of grand to start a recruitment company. There's not many overheads,
yeah,
thankfully, involved. It's more about
yeah.
the time that you put in and the network that you build, really.
Same with marketing agency. Just
Yeah.
get clients, get things going. Cool. Yeah, so that's fantastic. Alpha, any kind of other kind of things that you're interested in, like in the future, like any spaces, like we touched on, like Mid Journey and like AI and like some of the social stuff. Could you see yourself like branching off into other things, or is it all
The
kind
the
of
the AI stuff is obviously the biggest technological shift that we've seen in our lifetimes, right? So
100%? Yeah,
part of you does want to suddenly go and create an AI company tomorrow, right? So I mean that's what everyone is doing. I
yeah.
I had Harry Stebbings on my podcast recently, who runs 20VC,
All right,
and
cool.
he's an awesome guy, and he was saying that 85% of AI companies raising money today will probably turn out to be nothing in like a year from now. So, and I think he's absolutely right. I think the majority of successes in AI, I think, will be companies integrating AI into their existing structure and processes and how they operate.
Workflow, yeah. Hmm.
Like we have with Alpha. So, we're using a lot of AI tools to screen CVs and,
Hmm.
chatbots for interviews and all different types of things in order to save time and money. So I think that use and application of it will be a lot more successful than like the 50th chatbot being released this year, after we've already got GPT and Bard and everything. Mid Journey's obviously great, but it's a little bit different to my field.
Yeah,
I think
creative, very creative.
the next step there, really, though, Alex, is text to video, because we had text to text with GPT, we had
Yeah,
text to pictures with Midjourney. Next, we're going to have text to video. Like pretty soon, you're going to be able to type in what you want to watch, and it will create a Netflix quality TV series based on your prompts that you want, right? So, what happens to YouTube? What happens to Prime Video? What happens to TV? Like these are going to be like really interesting points in the next 1 to 3 years, which are going to completely revolutionize entertainment, like text to
I,
video.
I need I need to get Jake on and you next time. Jake's really into this like generative AI field. Like he's investing a lot of time in that.
Yeah,
Personally, I'm taking more of I play with ChatGPT, but a Mid Journey a little bit, but I'm not. It's I'm still like in the. I think a lot of people are kind of like behind the curve. Like it feels like AI is only like in terms of like real use, like it's a very small percentage of people are actually using it on a daily basis. I don't know the numbers, but um, I don't think it's super widely adopted right now in terms of uh, but well, I mean, of course, people are using it and they don't know, right?
yeah.
They're using your tools or they're using LinkedIn or something, but I think yeah, it's not kind of in the mainstream as people like us that use AI like to think it is.
It
So
would be hard to do like a poll on like the general population and get a result, but I do have a result from like my community on LinkedIn, because I posted who's still using GPT, Midjourney, etc., and
oh
how
yeah,
often.
yeah,
I posted this 4 days ago as a poll. It's had a couple of hundred people voting it. So this is with the software dev community, so it's obviously a lot more biased to this sort of thing. But
yeah.
52% of them are using it every single day. 23% are using weekly, 5% are using monthly, and then 20% are never using. So more than 50% are using every single day. They're going to GPT, they're going to Midjourney, they're going to other platforms. And I'm using it every single day for a very small number of things. But what are you using like GPT and AI tools for? Like what kind of like
Copy.
actual applications?
Yeah, email, like writing copy,
Okay.
that kind of thing. A lot of just copywriting. Yeah,
Yeah.
making
Yeah, I use it for
briefs, like
copywriting,
coming up with
like
ideas.
titles.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I'm,
if
I'm,
you
I haven't mastered prompting. Like, I probably suck at prompting.
yeah.
It's a whole art form, right?
It's just copy and pasting really from other people's idea. That's all I've done really. I haven't invented any prompts. I've just Googled cheat
Yeah,
sheets
yeah,
and use those. But it's great for like YouTube video titles. Like pop in your title and go, give me 10 variations of this, and it will give you different versions. A lot of the time, I'll pick that. It's great, like you say, for copywriting and emailing. It's great in recruitment for CVs. If I've got a CV
yeah,
which is perhaps really relaxed and informal, and they're applying for like a bank, I can put it into GPT and say, hey, make this more professional, and it will turn the language into more of a serious tone, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So small number of activities, but I'm using it daily for those types of activities.
Would you trust like AI if you could say like I want to take my wife and a kid and we want to go on a holiday somewhere? Would you trust AI to like make the whole arrangement,
No,
or
I
we're not
wouldn't.
there yet?
No, 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 no. You
No.
kind of could do it with like the plugins involved. Like you can, sync it up to hotel booking websites
Yeah.
and travel companies.
I'm
I
I'm just thinking in the future and thinking, is that would you be okay in terms of just like handing your life over to this thing and you know no.
No, probably not. But I mean, like, eventually, the question, a good question would be like, will there become a point in our lifetimes where it becomes silly not to do that? Because if it's
Right.
better than a human, if it's faster, if it's cheaper,
Yeah.
if it knows you better than you know yourself, then I think it would be silly not to do that. But we're not there at that point yet. Like, we're just
We are
not
not.
there
No.
yet. So I wouldn't
No.
do that right now. But who knows? Never say never.
Have you been in a self-driving car? Have you done that?
Oh, many times. Yeah, yeah. So in the
Yeah.
UK, we don't have them as common as like San Fran does. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to try Cruise, obviously Tesla, and Zooks. I've tried.
Mhm.
Yeah, like incredible. Like the AI. I like how it's moving like almost purely to AI driven at the moment, rather than relying on like lasers and sensors as well, which was a thing in the
Mm.
past. But yeah, I mean, I think the FSD, I think it's called, that the Tesla self-driving is probably the most advanced AI tool in existence, way more advanced than GPT. And
Yeah.
self-driving cars are fascinating. I mean, like the tech is basically already there to the point where it's a lot safer to get into one of those things rather than a human driving who could be drunk, could be tired, might just get distracted. The thing about AI is it doesn't take holidays. They don't take weekends. They don't get sick. You don't have to pay them, So it's very much the future. And I see all Uber drivers, I see all truck drivers being replaced by self-driving tech in a very, very, very short period of time. I
Yeah.
mean, it's people need to adapt to this.
Yeah. You mentioned Harry Stebbins. Who's the most interesting guest you've had on the pod?
He was up there, definitely. I mean, he's
Yeah.
London based as well, so his office is not too far away from mine. Went there a couple of weeks back, but I think probably the most. I mean, there's been a couple of conversations which I've really, really enjoyed. I interviewed DHH, the creator of Ruby on Rails,
Oh,
which is a
really?
very
I'll go and watch
popular.
that. I like DHH.
Yeah, he's a he's fantastic. He's built a technology which powers a large part of the internet. Businesses like Shopify
Yeah,
and
big fan of 37 Signals as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Hey, Basecamp 37. Yeah, his entire thing. I've read loads of his books. He's great. I interviewed Peter Wang, who's a really well known guy in the Python community. We spoke about Lex Freeman earlier when we were talking about Walt. He was actually on Lex's podcast at one point as well. So Peter Wang's super interesting. And I really enjoyed a controversial guest that I had on called Craig Wright, who claims
Yeah.
to be the Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of
Oh
Bitcoin.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, and
I
he
read a
may
book and his name was mentioned. I can't remember the title of the book.
Yeah,
I might
but
link it in the
he was
description.
fascinating because I got to meet him in person for like 2 hours. We had a great debate, and he raised some interesting points. And hopefully we can do a part two at some point. But yeah, I've had some cool guests, and I mean, there's probably many names I'm forgetting there, but those are probably some of the ones that like really stand out as like great episodes.
Yeah, I think going back to DHH, I think they're like some of the stuff they do is just so good. Like it's so common sense, but
Yeah.
a lot of people kind of get caught up in buzzwords and caught up in trends, and these guys just like they just put out so much good stuff. Like um, it's just really good content.
I respect him. A lot of my respect for David comes from the fact that he, like me, likes to juggle many varied things. Well, I don't know what the term is,
Yeah,
like polymath or whatever
yeah,
the
yeah.
term is. Yeah, he like drives race cars, not like as a hobby. He does it like at a professional level. He's like a world class, like race car driver. He's got the coolest office in the world. I'm not sure if you've seen a picture of his
I've
office
seen
setup.
that viral image of the
Yeah.
office. Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
man, he's a cool guy. We spoke a lot about his pivot to go back to on-prem from the cloud. This is a little bit
Mhm.
technical, but a lot of people, everybody in the tech world wants everything on the cloud, but there's a lot of
Yeah,
drawbacks that actually come from that, from using AWS. And he made a decision to essentially start hosting his own stuff on his own servers. And we talked about that decision and why he's done that and why he's challenging Andy Jassy and Amazon. And I think he did like a progress report recently. It'd been 6 months or something of him doing it, and from what he says so far, it's been a massive success. So
mm,
he's definitely one of those like different thinkers. Jason, his co-founder as well.
yeah.
Same type of person.
Me and Jake, we often like say like who'd be our dream guest on the pod. Um, we've said it in the previously like who would be your like dream guest
I think
on
it
the
would
pod?
probably have to be like Elon Musk or somebody, man. Like there's like him or hate him. I don't know what your stance is, but there's a few people that come around in history, whether that's Edison or Einstein or Da Vinci. I think Musk's legacy will probably be one of those people. I think whether that's Steve Jobs, whether that's Picasso, not many times you get an opportunity to speak to somebody like that throughout history, and there's not many
Mm,
alive right now that I'd put in that kind of camp.
yeah.
So I think he's alive. He's there. I mean, he'd certainly be one of the up there.
If you had to pick someone from the UK, who would you pick? Put you on the spot.
Uh, um, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff happening with AI, like Demis, for example. He's doing a lot of really interesting stuff with Google and DeepMind. I think we're at a little bit of a disadvantage in the UK, to be completely honest. I was
Mm.
emailing with the founder of Monzo, Tom,
Oh yeah.
recently,
Uh-huh.
who and he got into a bit of trouble because he moved to San Fran,
You
and
know,
he
you know,
said,
we had the Revolut CMO on one of our first pods.
"Oh,
He's a
cool,
Scottish guy,
cool,
actually. Yeah, yeah. No, that
cool,
was a really good episode.
yeah."
Very similar to Monzo. They were rivals at one time.
Yeah,
Still
no,
are, I guess.
I had the COO of Monzo on my podcast recently.
I know.
I was actually with his co-founder of his new venture last night at an event that we were hosting. And when I was speaking with the founder of Monzo, though, it was about the fact that he had recently moved to San Fran because he said that the London and UK tech scene
Yeah,
is kind of tiny compared to the Valley
yeah. I
and
read
the
a bit.
States. He's absolutely right. I mean, there's some very, very, very talented people in the UK, but the type of valuations that we get on companies and the type of ambition that's just generally seen
Yeah,
here is not what it is compared to America. So maybe there'll be a
and the cost of
states move.
Brexit as well. We've talked about Brexit in our pod. It's like it's
Yeah,
this is a whole other topic, but it's created a lot of cost as well.
Sure. I don't know too much about it, to be honest. I know politics headlines, but try to I try to kind of like
Yeah,
specialize in stuff that I'm good at, and like leave the other stuff to the experts. I don't know if Brexit is going to be good or bad, or has been good or bad. I think it's getting your own control over your own like laws and decisions. I think that's a good thing, but
yeah.
I think leaving like partnerships and whatever was in place. I mean that can have drawbacks as well, right? But maybe I'm not Mr. Brexit. I don't know enough about that to to have like an articulate opinion.
Yeah, I just hope I'm from Scotland. I just hope the UK stays together. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to get a new passport, which is gonna be a pain in the ass to
Well,
get.
the Scots had the vote, didn't they, a couple of years ago, if you wanted to
Uh,
stay or leave, and you voted to stay. So I guess the majority shares your opinion, right?
let's hang out when we're back in the UK. Like I think Jake's gonna go back in some. I'm gonna go back sometime this year. So to get to Scotland, I have to go through London. So
Okay.
I'll hit you up when I'm in London. Really good conversation as well. Hopefully next time you come on, we'll get Jake and we can get three of us.
Yeah, no problem. I know we didn't really have too much of an agenda here, but hopefully we've managed
That's the
to
way we
add
roll. That's the
value
way we
over the
roll in
past
this
year.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just we go for everything. Anything goes. So cool.
Cool, man. Well, if people enjoy that, I don't know if you show names on the screens, but I put my website as my name, so if people can
It'll
see
all
that.
be in description. All be in
Okay,
description.
awesome.
Right. Ciao. See you guys
Ciao,
later.
ciao.
Thanks. Bye bye.